Hello, Malcolm here, and welcome to Tuesday Teaching Tips, episode 98. And today we're talking about three-word slogans. Three-word slogans. What do I mean? Well, one of my responsibilities in the congregations I serve is to train and equip younger preachers, teachers, and those who don't have so much experience so that they can communicate God's word effectively. And I love to do that, and I think it's very important. And I often write articles and things like that so that people can be trained. And as I write, say, about the communion, the Lord's Supper, I'll write a paragraph or two, perhaps a whole page, perhaps a couple of pages on principles, things to consider as you're preparing a talk for the communion. And these are useful, but what I've also discovered is sometimes the more one writes, the more obscure the heart of it becomes. What's it really all about? And so as someone perhaps has that two-page piece of paper in front of them and then they're preparing their communion talk, it might be more confusing than it is helpful. There's a place for it, but I think we need these three-word slogans. So that's what I'm talking about. I have a project now of trying to come up with 3 words that describe what each part of the spoken service is about. The communion, when we welcome people, praying, the sermon, the talk for the needy about Hope Worldwide, I'll talk about that in a minute, closing things out when we have that kind of thing. And I'm talking about my own tradition of church services at the moment. These might be a bit different from yours. That's fine. I'd like to know your ideas about your services too. So I'm asking you to help me out by providing 3 words which describe the following 6 parts of my typical normal church service. What I mean is this. Firstly, the welcome. What we often call the welcome, which I think is not the most helpful phrase actually, or word. It's welcoming people, helping people to feel welcome and welcomed into our time of corporate worship together. But that moment when someone stands up, some couple, some family, to welcome everybody to one another and into the presence of God collectively, that welcome, what 3 words might describe its purpose? What's the motive behind it? What are we trying to achieve? What might guide us into welcoming people effectively and really in a way that honors God's word and what God's heart is? 3 words for that. Then the time of prayer. I'm splitting the welcome and the prayer here. What about prayer? When we lead people in corporate prayer in a church service context, what 3 words might help us to do that really well? Then let's take the communion, the Lord's Supper. 3 words. Words like cross, communion, remembrance. What 3 words might help with that? What about the hope talk? We call it the hope talk. It's a time when we remember the needs of the needy and the poor in this world. In particular, in my fellowship, we love to support the charity Hope Worldwide, and so we talk about hope sometimes, that charity. What 3 words might help us to prepare a good talk about that? Then the sermon. Usually the main part of the speaking in any service. What 3 words describe what a sermon is about, what it's for? What would you say? And then finally, in some of our congregations, we have what's often called the close, which is where someone stands up to summarize aspects of the service or the sermon, and distill it down to something that might be useful, perhaps offer a final charge, a challenge, an encouragement. What's the purpose of that? What 3 words would help? So what I'm imagining is this. Let's say I'm preparing to welcome everybody next Sunday. So I take out my piece of paper, I might write welcome at the top, and then I'm going to write these 3 words that we're thinking about, on this piece of paper to guide me in my preparation. Not to restrict me, but at least to guide me, to be a little bit of a template, something that helps me to think through what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and to try and make sure that what I'm doing is going to be effective, going to actually help people feel welcomed, and would honor God and his heart and his word. 3 words for each of these. Could you help me out? Could you post 3 words? Even if you can't do all of them, pick one. Maybe just the prayer, or maybe just the sermon, or maybe just the closing out section of the service. 3 words. That's all I'm asking for. 3 little words that will describe. It doesn't have to be a sentence, just 3 individual words. Could you post something? It would help me out no end in my project. But I think also it might help you as you think through what it's really all about. It might help your own thinking. And of course, as we post things online, then it helps each other to think about why we're doing what we are doing. Please leave a comment anywhere you hear or see this recording. And at least that comment can contain 3 words. That would be wonderful. And pass the link to this recording on to one other person who might benefit from what we're talking about here today. Well, until the next time, I hope you have a terrific Tuesday and a wonderful week. God bless.